Welcome to Orbit TV. I'm Robbie Moore, and I'm happy to be joined today by country singer and Cambridge native Adam Calvert. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So to just kind of jump right on in, so I saw that you attended a school in Cincinnati called the School for the Creative and Performing Arts. Now, that sounds like a dream school to me. Can you tell us about your experience with that?
It was really cool. The school's kindergarten through 12th grade, which is, I think, one of only two in the country and one of the only ones of its kind in the world. So I'd be, going from my math class on the third floor down to music theory on the ground floor, and I'd be passing little kids that are first, second grade with violins. And it's just very motivating going to a school where everybody has goals just like yourself, trying to make it in music and trying to get better at your craft. And so going to that school really opened me up and kind of gave me a kickstart for what was next. I was seeing all those people doing the same thing that I was doing.
You said you started at a young age learning music. What's some advice you would give to kids nowadays that are looking to pursue music?
Probably the thing that they don't want to hear, and that's practice. I mean, it's, now that I'm older, it's so much harder to practice when you're older. When you're young, learning an instrument, everyone knows that you learn things easier when you're young. I had to go through a few different instruments before I found the one that I really liked, which is guitar and piano. I started with drums when I was 6 or 7 years old and just didn't stick with it, but now I wish that I would have. So I try to tell young people, stick with the instrument. I know sometimes it's tedious practicing all the time, but you will get better and then you'll really enjoy playing it.
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
It does, yeah.
So you started on the MTV show, Taking the Stage. Can you tell us about what it was like to be on that show?
The cool part about that TV show in particular was that they really focused on the arts aspect of it, and so they allowed me to get my music out there and promote it to all the people that watch MTV. So we were one of the few actual music shows on music television, which was really cool. But it was definitely different, trying to go to a school and be a high schooler and go to lunch. And I know I'd go to lunch one day and there'd be a bunch of guys in black shirts from MTV with microphones and stuff, and they'd be wiring me up and something's about to happen. So it was hard being a normal student at that point, but definitely worth it.
Sounds like they got some acting skills kind of put into you guys too.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. Even though it's reality, it's you knew things were going on, and of course a lot of the cast members figured out that the more juicy they made it, the more time they're going to get on TV. So sometimes they might not even like the other one, and they just act like they like each other so that they get more TV time. I was just I'm going to be me, and what ended up happening was I got the most airtime because I did myself, did what I did anyway. So I try to tell the rest of the castmates that. I'm just be yourself. And they're like, no, we want drama.
Yeah, that's good advice right there, to just be authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. It usually works out better that way.
So who are some of your inspirations growing up?
Ooh, Garth Brooks is definitely one of my biggest inspirations. I love entertaining. I love singing. But I believe that, a lot of people in the audience don't necessarily know they don't know or care if you're a really good singer. They just go to the concert and have a good time, and that's kind of what makes Mick Jagger from the Stones, special, is that his entertaining, and Garth Brooks is that same way with country music. He's always been known for being the best entertainer in country music, and that's always been, I've always looked up to him I want to be just like him.
So performing live on stage, do you have a most memorable moment you have from that?
The most memorable is I opened up for Martina McBride when I was probably around 11, 12 years old. And it was one of the biggest shows I've ever, biggest crowds that I've ever performed in front of, even to this day. I've performed for about the same amount, but then at that age was just whoa, there was, everyone looked like dots, and as far as the eye could see, there was people, and it was definitely very exciting, but it's a memory that I bring up all the time to keep me focused on where I want to be, because I opened up for her. I'd love for that crowd to be, my crowd, and then be singing my song. So I try to keep that in the back of my mind.
Yeah, it's Martina McBride at that young age, a lot of people probably be have the starstruck take over, but that's really cool.
I definitely did, and I was definitely freaking out. I was not super cool or anything about it. I was oh my God. And Diamond Rio opened up for her, so and I was always been a big fan of them as well. So and I was oh my gosh, they're watching me right now sing in front of them, and definitely opening up for Phil Vassar. He's one of my Paige and I's favorite artists, and when I found out that I was going to get to open up for him, I was oh my gosh, I'm going to be singing in front of one of my idols. So.
What do you hope your fans take away from your music?
I try to write positive music. Most of my music is beachy and country, but I hope that people get inspired to be themselves. One of my singles is called "Who I Want to Be," and I wrote that basically about not having regrets, knowing who you want to be and where you want to go in life, and I think that's an important thing for all people all around the board. So I tried to promote that through my music.
I really like hearing, definitely hear like the positive message that you try to convey. What was your inspiration to write that song?
Just the beach, and how people meet special people at the beach, and sometimes you have to go and it doesn't work out, and I've learned that from a young age that it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's bittersweet for sure, but it's something that molds you as a person, and maybe that person that you met wasn't supposed to be there for a long time, but they inspired you for that amount of time.
Yeah, so sometimes a fair weather friend can be a good thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you again so much for coming here and taking the time to speak with us. I'm really happy you could be here.
Yes.
And thank you all for tuning in.
Maybe sometime in the future we can do it again and not have masks.
Yes, I can't wait for that.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.